Have much more of the day's news coming up at 10, including the passage of the downtown plan by the City Commission. But here at 6, we're going to spend some time with our local Congressman Mac Thornberry.
We've been collecting your questions for the Congressman via email and Facebook, and we'll get to as many of those as possible tonight.
We're also streaming this live, which means you can also ask questions via our Facebook page as well.
Let's get started. Again, Congressman Thornberry, thank you very much once again for being here to face all these questions.
Thanks for having me.
We had a lot of them, Congressman, come in about partisanship. Let's show you our first one. David asks, can we stop the partisanship on both sides of the aisle and finally work together? A question maybe you've heard before. How would you address that?
We can, and there's a difference between partisanship for the sake of partisanship and the sorts of disputes you have where you have real disagreements about how to deal with the country's problems. I very strongly oppose President Obama's health care plan, for example, not for partisan reasons, because I thought it was the wrong thing to do. But I do think there is more and more recognition that the economic situation we've gotten ourselves into is a thing of bipartisan concern, and there is a chance in the months ahead to work together to take some steps to get out of that. I hope we do.
Let me follow it up. Has it gotten better over the course of the last several months, or do you think it's gone downhill?
Hard to say. It has certainly gone downhill over recent years. I don't know about the past few months. Everybody was focused on this debt limit issue, and when you do that, you really look at the bigger financial picture. We're in serious trouble. We're not going to get out of it all at once, or it's going to be step by step, and hopefully we can find ways to do that, even with a divided government, which makes it harder.
You speak of that debt limit. You know, we had a lot of questions about the spending and the debt ceiling. Michael asks, why not reduce our foreign aid by 50%? Apply 25% of that to the deficit and the other 25% to rebuilding our nation's infrastructure.
Most people don't realize two things. One is we've already cut foreign aid about 20%, and I think it will be cut about another 20% in next year's budget. But if you eliminated it all, it's only about 1% of the federal budget. So it is, and we ought to look at every bit of spending in every department, including foreign aid. But nobody should think that you can balance the federal budget by eliminating foreign aid. It's just a tiny fraction of federal spending.
Next question is kind of related to the first one. Melody is the questioner this time. She says, why is all of Washington so out of touch? I don't mean just one party or the other, but all of Washington.
Well, I think it is related to the first one. There is a feeling of partisanship. It's hard to get things done, and that partly reflects the divided government. You have the House of Representatives with a majority of one party who believe in lower taxes, less regulation, balanced budget amendment, and those things. The President and the majority in the Senate have somewhat of a different view. And I think there's a lot of frustration. Some people say, why don't you compromise more? Other people say, you're compromising too much. But the general sense is that the country's headed in the wrong direction. And so I think that gets back to what can we do in the next few months to start to right the ship. And largely it's a matter of common sense. If we can do that, I think everybody will feel better.
Maybe she's saying, and I'm just thinking, maybe too many congressmen and senators are lawyers. Maybe too many are making too much money. They're out of touch with the little man, with the little person, the common man before they go to Washington. Is that a problem, you think, in our elected government?
Well, I do think it is a key part of any elected official's job to listen to the people he or she represents and to stay in touch. And you got to keep after it. And that's why you do things like town hall meetings in person, town hall meetings over the telephone. You read your mail, you know, and do a variety of things. So you do have to keep working at it. But there's also, I think, a deeper frustration at these problems that have accumulated over some time that we're not moving faster to fix them, and we should.
Okay, one thing moving faster right now, all the talk of the presidency. You know, we are live streaming right now on our Facebook page, and of course one of those questions is about that. Danny from Dumas writes in and he says, will you support a Perry presidency?
I'm very glad that the Governor Perry is running. He hadn't asked me to endorse him. I don't think it hurts or helps him if I do, but I'm very glad he's running, partly because it enables us to talk about what we've done differently in Texas that has meant we've created 37% of all the jobs since the recession started, that causes so many people to want to move here. And so I think that's a great opportunity for us. I'm glad he's running. I hope he does well.
This next topic had a lot of interest on our website, and a lot of people have been talking about this too. Jack from Pampa, who showed that question, wants to know what you think happened during this ATF operation known as Fast and Furious. A lot of pros and cons. There was praise from the White House. There was a lot of repercussion from Congress. What happened there, and what do you think about it?
I don't know. There's still investigating to be done, but I think some people got a little too cute in trying to run an operation that essentially backfired in many ways. And it's always a hard thing to know how far to let an investigation go so that you can follow it all the way back, see who the kingpins are, if you will, versus cutting it off and in this case, stopping the guns from getting there. And clearly some people let it go too far here. And there's more investigating need to be done, and the people who made mistakes need to be held accountable for the mistakes they made.
Well, it wasn't a mistake you coming here today. We appreciate it, Congressman, for taking some time out of that busy schedule, for coming to talk to the viewers here. And we thank you for writing in with your questions to us here on Facebook and to our Pro News 7 webpage. Thank you for the time, and we will be back with weather after the break.